Well, it's a new year, and each year some people will gather up for a new set of resolutions. New Year's resolutions are notoriously hard to keep, but have we learned from our past experiences? And how do we stick to resolutions and get energy for a new year? Let's delve further into this with life coach Zuleka Jasper. Zuleka, good to have you, and happy New Year.
Thank you so much, and a very same to you and to all the viewers.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is quite tradition, to set up your New Year's resolutions. I mean, before we get into this year's resolutions, how do South Africans fairly do with their previous resolutions?
Well, the research has shown that only about 8% of people manage to keep their New Year resolutions. So that pretty much means that the vast majority of people who do set New Year resolutions, I mean, that the time frame that they set is that those people ordinarily don't get past the end of January. So a little bit of doom and gloom as to, looking at New Year resolutions and whether people manage to keep those.
Yeah, and I know some people that actually judge others when they do set resolutions because they find them actually unrealistic. But for those who are optimists, I mean, why do people generally want to kick off a new year with a new set of, resolutions?
Well, the reality is, if we look at the way that our brains have been developed and the way that the mind works, our minds actually do need something to work towards. So we actually do need goals. So people that do set New Year resolutions, or for that matter, any type of goal, is actually working with their minds and the way that our minds work. I mean, think about something as silly as losing 2 kilograms to fit into your perfect black little number. Just because you have an end goal or something that you work towards, it's so much easier to then focus on your, on your diet. However, if you just say, I want to have a healthy life, it's so much harder to keep that. So it is actually a very good thing to set resolutions. And the best time of year is most probably right at the beginning of the year.
Absolutely. So I like the part where you say that it's because, our brain obviously are set in a way that we need something to work towards. So if you have your goals, your aspirations, where does it go wrong, Zuleka? I mean, you've got the right intentions, the best interests at heart, but somehow, like you say, we don't make it past January. Where does it go wrong in the same brain that sets these goals?
So I think there's 3 things, and there's a lot of research around this that actually prove that if you can do these 3 things, you're pretty much set up for success. So the very first thing is to forgive yourself for the past. So many of us, last year I wanted to do something, I didn't get to it. So this year I set the bar even higher. So I actually become unrealistic in my resolutions and in my goals. So the first thing to do is to let the past be in the past and just focus on the future. That's the first starting point. Then obviously don't have 1,000 goals. Our mind, and especially our conscious mind, can only focus on 1 to 3 things at a time. But now I make a list of 20 New Year resolutions. It is just so hard to keep. So keep it to 1 to 3 things at a time, and pick the 2 that are most relevant to you, something that is for you. I mean, I can't have a resolution to, have a child that's going to pass matric this year. I have to have goals and resolutions that are really focused on me and that are good for me. Then, and this is most probably the most important one, is to set daily intentions. How do you eat an elephant? Bite by bite.
Yeah.
So let's for a moment assume I'm setting this goal to run a marathon this year, but I'm not a runner at all. Now, if I constantly focus on running 42 kilometers, it's going to be exceptionally hard. However, if I every day get up and just have a small intention, so maybe today I'm just going to walk for 1 kilometer. Tomorrow maybe I run the kilometer. And so I carry on and I eat the elephant bite for bite. The problem is, if I set too large a goal, the distance between where I am and where my goal is just so big and so far that it's so much harder to get there. So daily intentions, bite by bite. And then the last thing, if I may, is to make sure that you do share your goals. Tell people, tell your friends, tell your family, and ask them to help you to keep you accountable. Quite often, a lot of our goals only exist in our minds, and we are driving it, but other people don't know about it. Well, it's just so much easier if I surround myself with people that can actually support me in this process of achieving my goals.
Absolutely. And I mean, in the context of 2021, with everything you've said in terms of, keeping daily goals, in terms of having an accountability partner, how would you advise, us setting our resolutions in the context of where we are right now, especially under level 3 lockdown? I'm sure people had ambitious goals, but there are also restrictions in terms of movement and reach. How would you advise us not to get frustrated by, sort of like our limitations during this pandemic?
Absolutely. It's a very good question. So it's to set goals that I know can be achieved. Now, I know that I can only exercise, if I can take exercise, because that's pretty much on most people's list of goals, between 6 o'clock in the morning and 9 o'clock at night, if I would like to go outside. So why do I now want to set a goal where I'm going to run at 5 o'clock in the morning? Because all that I do is I make myself very unhappy because there's a limitation. So understand the limitations and set those things within the limitations. Also, the other thing is think a little bit out of the box. Over this past year, one of my clients actually got super fit. And all that she did was she realized, well, I can't go outside, especially when we had the hard lockdown. And at her back door, she has 2 steps into the house. And every day, and she started with literally only 5 minutes, running up and down those stairs. So think out of the box, use what you have. I mean, it's quite interesting when she could start exercising outdoors again. She continued by just running the stairs and running the stairs. And now she can very comfortably run 10 kilometers with ease. Now, that's what I mean when I say use what we have. And also focus on the things that I have control over. I do not have control over Corona. I mean, literally the only things that we as South Africans at the moment have control over is wearing our masks, keeping our social distance, and practicing good hygiene. Work within those parameters and don't think, yes, but what if it was this or that? The reality is we don't have that.
Right.
So focus within the boundaries.
All right, then we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Zuleka. Quite realistic advice there for sharing. Thank you so much.